Berber linguistic groups, Mandinka, etc. You're all Moors. Get over it. Stop looking at the political territorial jurisdictions that have been created since European hybrid colonial operations in the Western Hemisphere under colonial hegemony. Those political jurisdictions are only artificial constructs on paper. We're all the same people. Get over it, brothers and sisters. Thank you very much. You're home. No matter where you walk, to the north or to the south, you're home. Thank you. Don't let them play that green card crap on you. That's only politics. That's not reality. Get out of that false matrix. It's part of the reason the Moorish Divine and National Movement exists. Read chapter 47 of the Circle 7 Quran. That'll give you your basis. And we're talking civics, not religion. We're talking actual political, geographical, and facts, and political jurisdictional facts, not beliefs. Those are facts.
Okay, T-shirt chief says, how are African immigrants classified when they become citizens of the United States?
The United States is a private corporation. Any person that allegedly becomes a citizen of the United States becomes stock, because it's a private corporation. It's not a country. That's a fact. For those of you who doubt it, do research in corporate operation and corporate bankruptcies, and you'll see that the United States Corporation went bankrupt 2018, and it's a private corporation belonging to the Jesuit order of the Bishopric of Rome under the Pope of Rome. It's a private, for-profit, human trafficking corporation that has been presented under pretext as a country since 1861. There you go. The land here that you call country is Morocco. Get over it. It's the Maghreb. And we're not just talking about evening salat. And if you want to key to some of the research, you'll hear Juali say the term, you'll say, you're really Jews. We don't use that name or that term because the Europeans have been using it, meaning it's misrepresented. But we know that we really Saba, or that you call the real Jew. Everybody knows it but our people. But Jew is a cover-up for Saba. Keep that in mind. Because really there ain't no such thing as Jew. Really Saba. And for those of you who doubt it, look up Sabian. S-A-B-E-A-N. Sometimes they'll substitute the E with an I. You want to look at the linguistic groups? Berber, Bantu, Mandinka. There you go. And all of you are part of the family. From the north to the south. And keep in mind, Jew is not a religion. Jew is, you really come from Ivri, or what you people falsely say Hebrew, which is also false. It's Ivri. It's those who cross the river. This is during the time or before the great earthquake. Those of us who cross the river with the super devere, or the dividing of the land between Ham and Cush, So you Cushitic people, all of you, Cushites, etc., are Ibri on this side, meaning those of us of the Cushites and the Moabite Canaanites who crossed the river. So those who came to the Maghreb are Ibri, or what you call cover up, is called Jew. Saba, get over it. Stop lying to yourself. And ain't got a daggone thing to do with religion. It has to do with what was done. Those who crossed over. Those of you over here, yeah, you're the true Jew. You're the true Saba. Get over it. Got nothing to do with belief. It has to do with the real heirs of the land. So by the hybrids covering up the history to steal your estate, they also have condemned themselves in doing so. So they gained the whole world and have lost their soul. That's what they're dealing with right now. They've gained the entire world, deceived the entire world, and have lost their soul. And a few of them, recognizing what's coming cosmically, are trying to redeem themselves by telling the truth, trying to get on the right side of history. I understand it. And many of those adepts around the world understand exactly what I just now said. A lot of demons among our own are angry about what I just now said. Because they got to go too. They're part of the problem.
I want to read a little bit more about from this.
Share some more.
Yeah,
whatever comes to your mind, because really it's important. Because you already know, it's so much.
And there's a lot of stuff you've said and stuff, but when it's backed up, a lot of times whoever says it depends on.
But also, other people always knew this,
right? But
it's just that this literature ain't been shared with our people. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. They're pointed to party books and get high books, whatever. It's the truth.
Let me see. Okay. As the United States declared its independence, Morocco was aggressively interested in pursuing a dialogue and recognizing this country because it had a vested interest in slave citizens and relatives. They were essentially suing for peace. Although Morocco was eager to establish formal relations, the United States was busy with their own war and other problems. They did not respond. After all normal diplomatic channels had been exhausted, Morocco seized various Americans and their ships and held them for ransom. This got the attention of the Americans, and it worked. A peace treaty was worked out and guaranteed that any U.S. citizen in Morocco would be declared a free American citizen if he presented himself to the U.S. consulate and demonstrated his citizenship.
Now, see the consul venue? That's diversity of nationality in all treaty law around the world. See how important history is, Dr. Naila?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Outside of that venue, you're out of order. Yeah. So therefore, if you're outside the constitutional fold of government, you won't take that position, will you?
Yeah.
So that means you voided your position, don't you? Now you see how the black codes have destroyed our people under the 14th Amendment?
Yep.
Trying to be somebody that they're not and become stock for the United States thinking it's a country. Mm-hmm. It's all trade, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's agreements and trade, isn't it? Didn't Obama say that treaty between Morocco and the United States is the oldest running treaty in the world?
Yep.
Isn't that apparently the foundation of the politics?
Yes.
So in an international venue, isn't that logical? That the oldest running treaty in the politics of the world is the foundation of your general world's politics, and how come these people don't know about it? Why? Because they thought it was a religion? It's their estate. All of our economics is tied into this.
So a peace treaty was worked out and guaranteed that any U.S. citizen in Morocco would be declared a free American citizen if he presented himself to the U.S. consulate and demonstrated his citizenship. It preserved the rights of all Americans in Morocco. In diplomacy, there is a principle called reciprocity, which means that citizens of different countries will be treated in kind. The U.S. Secretary of State clearly stated in his own handwriting that any Moroccan national would be treated the same as any U.S. citizen in Morocco. In this respect, so-called apocryphal legend of Drew Ali is astonishingly backed up. The above encourages us to seriously consider another story passed down through antiquity. This concerns a meeting that Drew Ali had with President Woodrow Wilson. Noble Drew Ali claimed to have written a letter to President Woodrow Wilson and asked him for the Moroccan flag. The Wilson connection is once again ironic because President Wilson was a known KKK sympathizer who endorsed the racist movie Birth of a Nation, which featured a white supremacist by the name of Ben Cameron. There's an account that Drew Ali actually met with President Wilson and asked for the flag. When Wilson and his people asked him what flag he was talking about, Ali told them it was hidden in their vault. After going to the vault room, all the president's men brought out all sorts of flags, but he told them it was much older. As they dug deeper, they came upon a red flag and said that it was the flag of Morocco. Ali is said to have stated, "I am here for the Moorish flag, that which you call a cherry tree." The full account of this alleged meeting is a little suspicious because it indicates that the Moroccan flag was red with a green star. At the time of George Washington, the Moroccan flag that would have been given to the president was only plain red, some say to honor the blood of the Prophet of Islam. This indicates that a black faction may have been embellishing what happened because the green star was only added to the Moroccan flag around or after this meeting with President Wilson was said to have occurred. The ostensible reason for adding a green pentagram was that the international seafaring community had problems with the plain Moroccan flag as it confused mariners who already had their own established use for red flags. The embellishing of the Drew Ali story was not really necessary if they had appealed to a higher truth. A more astute observer would have realized that the green pentagram added to the red flag is even more significant. Accordingly, Morocco adopted the pentagram, which they called the Seal of Suleiman, and colored it green to honor the color of Islam. Without actually observing all of the actual history concerning the bizarre synchronicities involved with the cherry tree, it is very hard to say how much of what occurred with it is intentional. It is quite clear, however, that some outside force was orchestrating a synchronicity that could not easily be explained. This will become clear as the story develops. After his alleged meeting with President Wilson, Drew Ali continued his life mission, which was to lead his people out of a mental poverty that had put them at the bottom rung of the ladder. His method to lift them was his own version of Islam. He also noticed that the only successful members of his race were those who imitated the conquerors of his people. There was no great imam or sheikh who taught anything that was indigenous or respectful of their original culture. In this vein, he became their leader and created quite a stir in the world of the Roaring Twenties. If you care to read the newspapers of the day, you will find that Drew Ali commanded such a following that he was closely monitored by the government as a potential power that had to be reckoned with. There were even huge revivals that outdid Christian enterprises. In fact, Drew Ali's meetings included stirring renditions of Muslims, that old time religion borrowed from the trite evangelical Christian ditty you likely heard. The movement was huge. Ali was billed as a healer too, and was said to produce miracles in his own right. By most accounts, the man seemed to be humble and unpretentious, although some have tried to defame him. Mostly everyone ignores Drew Ali. In the background of the religious dogma was the Moorish Science Temple, which has also been portrayed as having other names. In the midst of all this excitement and hoopla, there was one very penetrating truth. Drew Ali had a reputation that has surpassed that of any black man in the entire history of America. He was not only dangerous to the powers that be, he was in a position to wield a considerable amount of power. As is typical in any scene of power with Homo sapiens, his lieutenants and adjutants were all poised to make a grab at this incredible power, particularly if he was to suffer incarceration from the authorities or to die. Into this thriving scene of Black America rallying behind Drew Ali as an international religious leader entered one of the most intriguing and dubious characters in history, particularly Black Muslim history. This man's name was Wally Fard. I'm going to stop right there.
Mhm. You know, and you'll begin to see the politics, particularly when you go into the FBI papers and you see the intrigue and the subversion that took place in that whole area of the late 20s. Then you'll recognize why Drew Ali, one of the counter moves that he made was to adopt a religious affidavit to the Moorish Holy Temple of Science to protect the estates of the Moors or their homes. He set up a trust. People were to put all their stuff in trust to be protected. And of course, during that time, they murdered him because they already knew that that motivation or that momentum was killing the stock market. And this is again why the U.S. corporation company went bankrupt in 28, etc. Same year that he adopted the affidavit. And then you see what took place with Delano Roosevelt in 33, with them using all birth certificates to refund the United States Corporation Company again. And that went bankrupt in 2013. Then they started again and then went bankrupt in 2018. And all of a sudden, this strange sickness appeared that everybody got a mask on for. If you think this stuff is not tied together, you really need to study history.
And for those who are asking the question, I'm reading from Synchronicity and the Seventh Seal by Peter Moon.
You can show it. It's the cover of that book.
Hold up a little bit. There.
And this is the cover of Nature Knows No Color Line. Now, another point is, it's not that this information is not available to people, it's that people who have interest in keeping our people in servitude and ignorant don't want this kind of information out because it kills a lot of those corporate Negroite, corporate funded 501c3 churches, mosques, and synagogues that actually come under Skull and Bones that's been keeping this fake black code paradigm operative that's been keeping the U.S. stock market alive. That's why they want you to keep calling yourself black and Negro, because it's all stock. It's not really the real people of the land. Real people of the land are Moors. They are the Aboriginal, indigenous people, proper heirs of the North Gate of Maghreb, of Mexam, etc. That's the fact. And all treaties, the oldest treaties, are by your mothers and fathers. So go back to the state of mind of your ancient mothers and fathers and enforce the treaties, i.e., thus the constitutional obligations that the hybrid Europeans have to those treaties, etc., and to the Republican form of government set forth via that Constitution enforcing the treaties. Now that's a fact. Get to work, y'all. Stop pretending you don't know.
Here's a question.
And keep in mind, while our people have been playing games, the Whigamores have been fighting among each other over your estate. They're just hiding behind the Democratic and Republican Party. They're the Whigamores. They got to wear wigs, but you don't. Because you got them antennas.
So here's a question. Antoine Darrell says, "It's respect. I'm originally from Bermuda, but now living in England. Do you know anything about the GOM, GOM bays? GOM-BEY apostrophe S. GOM bays?
The Bombays.
It's GOM with a G.
Yeah.
Can you talk about
that? Yeah. Go back to the Picts, the Moors, and the Dubs. And when you're looking at England land, you know you're still home. You're looking at Iberia. And when you're looking at the islands, you're looking at the same. All of it's yours. You need to understand that. Same like when those of you in the islands and you're talking about the Maroons, still talking about Moors. The Maroons are Moors. Get over it. They're just simply brothers and sisters among the island people who try to preserve and keep the culture.
Here's a question. Why don't, quote unquote, they reveal that it was the Moorish womb men who defeated the Brits in the Revolutionary War?
Here we go. Aren't we back to Moorish history? Your connection to the land. Act like you know. They just hide it by calling us Indians. None of it's a secret. It's just that people need to know the difference between the nom de guerre that were used to separate us from each other and the different territorial names and tribal names which were used or emphasized to make us think that we're different people when we're just simply the same people of different territories, tribes of nations. Tribes are simply no different than you would call the different nation territories or what you would call the states territories. You look at the tribes in the same perspective because the state territorial jurisdictions were based on tribal rules. It's a duplication and a reflection of the same. And so when you look into Whigamores, and you're looking at the Whigamore conscience Whigs and the Cotton Whigs, i.e., the Republican Party and Democratic Party. Just look at the Honesty Confederation, and then look at the Powhatani Confederation, etc. It's just simply a copy of what was already here.
I think the interesting point with regard to the D's and the R's is that when you, in terms of, I think a lot of folks have to see in this short 100 days what those who did actually go out and cast a ballot for what they did. It's very apparent, but I don't think as many